Dawada Yahweh for the many blessings and for everyone tuning in today for the spirits, the waters, and the blood. All praises to Yahweh, Bahashem Hamashiach, Yahweh Shah, Uvain Barakatah Sherek, Ruach Kadesh, or Ruach Kadesh. Today, I'm here in order to, I guess, give a little bit of clarity or just to add a little bit of clarity to who we are as Hebrew Israelites throughout the world and the recognition of it. I'll go ahead and give my abstract first of this particular video content. All right. This particular video content is, again, it's sort of like beating a dead horse with a stick. You have different individuals or the Jewish community stating that is it important, and they never answer the question when it comes to race. And they're one of the questions that they'll come back if you ask what color were the Israelites, they reply, well, why does that matter? Why does that matter? Then also, if you look at the genealogy is stipulating a race of people, a group of people that are supposed to be not only the Torah, but also that us as a people, as a nation, as a race. We're not a religion. And that's the whole thing about this. If you trace the lineage of it, then you go to the blood type haplogroup E1B1A, basically, and linking you to the 12 tribes of Israel, then you automatically by blood are an Israelite. Now, what you can be Israelite in another nation and not know the Torah at all, but at the same time, you're still an Israelite. You just don't know. You're living amongst the Gentiles, but then you are considered a Gentile once you accept other deities of that nation that you're in, if that makes sense. I don't want to, well, I can say if I'm Buddhism and if I'm Chinese or what have you, if I convert to Jesus, what religion or what race am I? Or I'm Baptist or Pentecostal or evangelist, it throws a person into a particular category. But the number one fact is that all of the religions, except for the Quran, but the Quran automatically mentions different people or mentions the Torah. So, Salafi, excuse me. So basically, if you are if you Buddha, like I said, or Hinduism, that's a religion. But to be a Israelite is the nation that you're in. It's that bloodline means everything. If I was to die and pass away, my next inheritance should be, or is listed, would be my son, my oldest child. But technically, biblically, it's my son, my oldest son, that should inherit my inheritances. As I guess I evaluate them, and if my oldest son is responsible enough, or I see he meets the criteria, then he gets it. If not, it can trickle down, which the word has shown periodically throughout Esau, Jacob, most definitely Ephraim and Asher. So technically, your bloodline gives you, or it's the next inheritance of your particular rights, your customs, your blessings. So therefore, if I'm a Hebrew Israelite by blood, and I'm of Shem, and you trace me, well, you can't be anyway, and you trace me all the way back, and then my inheritances was left before my forefathers. My inheritances are what has been taken away from our forefathers. So therefore, that puts a person in a sense to where your race, your genealogy means everything. Even coming from out of Babylon, it kept track of the genealogies through Egypt genealogy. So therefore, the bloodline is specific. So therefore, you have a group of individuals that are trying to take being a Judean or a Yehuda or of the bloodline of Judah, Ephraim, Manasseh, the 12 tribe, Benjamin, or Benjamin, the 12 tribes, taking the 12 tribes and then trying to break the 12 tribes down into a religion. And therefore, the promises that was made to the original bloodline, now you're going to take the bloodline or you're going to take the promises and you turned it into a religion. So therefore, converts or individuals that convert to your religion have control and authority over your particular religion. And that's the way that Yahweh Shah, he was fighting with the Pharisees and the scribes, because they changing stuff along with the Pharisees, and they're creating stuff like the Talmud and the Haggash, the Haggash. I think it's Haggash, where they started to take around the 1300s on, basically trying to whitewash the Bible. So therefore, when you take a whitewashing, that means you're taking images of the natural images of people, and then you're transforming them into something else, which happened once the people, the Pharisees or the particular Jewish individuals got control of a bloodline and a bloodline of a people, and then took the ethnicity of a people and then changed it into a religion, Judaism. That's how you get Judaism and Jewish. Basically, it's not they've taken it away from the 12 tribes to where now the bloodline descendants of these promises and this way of praise, willful way of praise to the Father and keeping us law, statutes, and commandments, took it and then changed it to where now, instead of the Levites being the priest, you have Judaism. Put it like that. All right. So basically now with this particular video, it's stipulating we have, again, like I said, it's like beating a dead horse with a stick, talking about, I'm gonna kill you. Anyway, you have a doctor or a professor to the Parfit that's actually comes out and I'll let this lady give, or the lady gives his introduction, because she gives an awesome introduction. And I'm like, wow, really? Anyway, but to say that if you could get the Jewish community to recognize that we are not, I'll say it like that, we are not converting to Judaism. We're not converting to being Jewish. We are Israelites. We are Hebrew Israelites of the line of Eber, Perez, Manasseh, all 12 tribes. We're Israelites. And then known tribes throughout Africa known as the Igbo people, and then other tribes that keep ceremonial Jewish ways. They may have lost them throughout tradition or throughout the time frame, but they still are bloodline descendants of the Israelites. Then when you trace the particular individuals that went into slavery during the time frame in which all of the whitewashing was occurring and all the religion and Judaism was spawned out and everything, and then they took Judah's name and then they made Judah now a religion, Judaism. So you have a lot of converts that lie, that say that they could trace their heritage back to back to Judah or Jacob, probably, but doubtfully, but anyway, that says they could trace their heritage all the way back to Yehuda, being Judah, being the chosen people, and as the members of the 12 tribes, when they're lying, to be of Judah is to be Shemitic. So therefore, a European would trace back to Khazarian, or Japheth. It would not make that person a bloodline descendant of Judah. All right, just to say that, and then now to go on. And this is right here, like I said before, this is my abstract. Now, if you have individuals that are of the bloodline of Judah or Yehudah, then basically, more than, if you pay reparations, couldn't pay us back for what you owe us. We're talking about millions of our people that was enslaved, and then now across the world, and targeted by, I'm gonna just say it, by individuals of high powered, the Roman Catholic Church, and then you also have the Jewish-ish individuals that's in power, Rothschilds and stuff like that, and different kings and queens across the world that actually helped to target us, and especially when we were forced, the bloodline of King David and Yehuda and our ancestor Yahya Negro and Yehuda, Judah, when they were over in Spain and they were exiled. And that's how, I stumbled across the Hagash because of a Bible was found when they were forced out of Spain. And in that Bible, I'm gonna come out with another video on it because I find it so interesting. You see the whitewashing taking place, and it's almost like in their pictures, I'm an artist, I can draw. And basically you can see through their pictures that they're actually showing you, and it's sort of like they're bragging about the switch of identity and the switch of power of Judaism or Judah, sort of like making Judah still their slave. So I'm gonna go ahead and start this like this and go ahead and start the video. Oh, fair use. All the videos, all our videos that I use are for educational purposes, whether it's spreading the Father's word or educational purposes as far as edification for individuals that just may need to know or may want to know. Please take the time out to hit the like, share, and subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything to do that, most definitely. Hit the bell notification for future notices of content that's newly released. Hope everyone had a blessed, Barak Sabbath today. And most definitely peace out to all of my, or peace to, or shalom to all of my Hebrew Israelite brothers, mishpacha family, brothers and sisters that help spread the word of the Father. And the number one truth, again, like I said before I start this particular documentary or video content, I just want to take the time out to thank you again. Got much love for you. And inheritance of a bloodline inheritance is everything. Therefore, the land that we got, the land that we were ran from, most definitely 70 AD, down to the northwestern regions of Africa and lands in which we established after fleeing persecution. That's a part of retribution. Then the next thing you know, we talking about the murder of our ancestors throughout time. That's another reimbursement that need to be paid. Then you talk about all of the horrors that occurred during the Sahara slave trades. The Sahara slave trade basically incorporated fellow Arabs and stuff like that that fell to Muslim rule, along with some Hamites and, a few Hebrew Israelites. But the majority targeted individuals came through the transatlantic slave trade. Now, the transatlantic slave trade was a direct target upon Hebrew Israelites. It's evident, and we were scattered throughout the world. We weren't just taken to Rome and then we start to mingle with the Romans, and then the next thing you know, we got a chance to bounce up out of Rome and then go get it and what's that? 1948 or something like that, get a piece of land that's given to us by the United Council. No, we were a race of people that was still in persecution for 400 years plus. Even now, we're going through a form of slavery and injustices and prejudiceness towards us in all our nation, in all of the nations that we're scattered in. You look at how the Hebrew Israelites or individuals of ethnic color or black are treated in Australia. Well, I'm not going to go into it because that'll make this video really, really long, and I don't want to do that. But basically, like I was going on to say, if you look at the retributions that would have to be paid for the horrors that occurred to the Hebrew Israelites scattered through America, the North America, every part of the world. I mean, I'm not going to sit. I probably have missed places if I try to sit here and just name one-on-one which nation or what nations we're in. We're scattered all over the place. It's a number one fact. No other race has experienced the horrors that we have occurred through the curses of Deuteronomy. Now, if you go through the curses and you track them one at a time, and you're looking at the Hebrew Israelites, then you will agree. Now, unless something is wrong with you mentally to where you're educationally impaired to where you can't pick up the information. But if you can, and if you have regular cognitive abilities that can process information, then it's so evident and so clear that no other race has experienced what we've experienced. So therefore, if our bloodline is showing and stipulating that we're a certain group of people, then more than slavery retributions have to be paid. You have to pay us retributions for when the nations conquered us. And trust assured, the individuals that's responsible for paying retributions, they're not going to be happy with it. All right, so therefore, I'll go ahead and go on with the documentary. Peace of love to you all. Stay blessed and get educated. And then I'm going to go and hit this right here. I want to share my screen. Hold on. Did I share my screen? No. All right, let's do it like this. But I think I said it, but yeah. If anything, they owe us, and it's more than retribution, but acknowledgement of who we are as a people is the most important thing here. Fair use, fair use, fair use.
Yet, are the speaker spaces changing? Are we like being okay? Professor Parfit is a British historian, writer, broadcaster, traveler, and adventurer, having appeared on the History Channel, BBC, PBS, in many documentaries on the study of lost tribes and Jewish communities around the world, particularly in Africa, Asia, and the Americas. He is the founder of the academic study of Judaizing groups in Africa and is widely introduced as the British Indiana Jones. He actually has a hat. of the Royal Historical Society in the UK. He is Alumni Fellow at the Hutchins Center, Harvard College. He has authored 30 books. Okay, thank you, Harriet. Are the speaker spaces changing? Are we being, okay. Professor Parfit is a British historian, writer, broadcaster, traveler, and adventurer, having appeared on the History Channel, BBC, PBS, in many documentaries on the study of lost tribes and Jewish communities around the world, particularly in Africa, Asia, and the Americas. He is the founder of the academic study of Judaizing groups in Africa and is widely introduced as the British Indiana Jones. He actually has a hat like Indy. Currently, he is the Distinguished University Professor at Florida International University and director and founder of the Global Jewish Program there that hosts many Jewish programs at the Jewish Museum in Miami Beach. Professor Parfit is Emeritus Professor of Modern Jewish Studies in the University of London at the School of Oriental and African Studies, SOAS, where he was the founding director of the Center for Jewish Studies. He is the Senior Associate Fellow at the Oxford Center for Hebrew and Jewish Studies and serves as corresponding Senior Fellow of the Académie Royale des Sciences. I think I pronounced that okay. He is the board chair of the Academic Advisory Committee of the Paris-based Project Aladdin, whose goal is to promote mutual understanding between Jews and Muslims. In that capacity, he has brought Muslim state leaders and high-ranking Muslim clerics to visit Auschwitz. He is a fellow of the Royal Historical Society in the UK. He is Alumni Fellow at the Hutchins Center, Harvard College. He has authored 30 books, the most recent, Hybrid Hate, of which we will be discussing in this interview, and hundreds of articles. The professor that I have gotten to know over the last 6 years has taught hundreds of non-Jews and Jews how to read Hebrew, about Jewish history and culture. He has translated Hebrew poetry into English and advocated to Israeli government officials and Knesset about lost tribes and the importance of emerging Jewish communities. He has been an influence on the way I understand the work that I do for Kulanu and the implications for the future of Judaism. While being an Anglican himself, he has taken pro-Israel stances to audiences that have heckled him. I once said to him, "You took punches for us?" He responded, "Benita, I am not feeling particularly saintly now." With humbleness and pride, I introduce to you the Dr. Tudor Parfit.
The main racial theorists of the day started saying that yes, actually, Jews are Negroes, and front page of the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, all that. The main racial theorists of the day started saying that yes, actually, Jews are Negroes, and front page of the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, all over the place. Fantastic, incredible publicity. Why? Why is it, I thought, that black Jews are so deeply troubling somehow to Western sensibilities? It really puzzled me for a long time. And it was interesting, it was fascinating to see that Enlightenment scholars at the end of the 18th century were equally puzzled. And the reason that they were puzzled, why were they puzzled? They were puzzled because they didn't know how they became black. How they became black. So, how they became black. So why then, all of a sudden, do the people that we're all interested in this group, everybody here is interested in the question of Jews, as we say, of color, of color, of color, throughout the world, and that's one of these are the groups, Kalanu and me, we've been very interested in. At the end of the 18th century, for the first half of the 19th century, Jews of colour were not marginal, they were mainstream preoccupations of people. Preoccupations of people. Jews of colour were not marginal, they were mainstream preoccupations of people. And that's something which I'm the first person to point out. It was interesting for racial theorists, a number of reasons. One of the reasons is that you've got, for the first time, the idea that Jews are multicoloured. Now, that in itself is kind of interesting, but the underlying thing is the proof that this provides to the monogamists. And the proof that this provides to the monogamists. The proof that this provides to the monogamists. And they took up the cause of all of the black, brown Jewish communities throughout the brown Jewish communities throughout the world, all of the black, brown Jewish communities throughout the world, like it was the most fabulous thing that they could imagine in support of their own ideas. And they would spend their times traveling the world and looking for new black Jewish communities, and they could bring these back and feed them into the racial kind of machine. The group black Jewish communities, and they could bring these back and feed them into the racial kind of machine. The group. And they would spend their times traveling the world and looking for new black Jewish communities, and they could bring these back and feed them into the racial kind of machine, the groups. All of these kind of black Jewish groups, they were all kind of dragooned. All of these kind of black Jewish groups, they were all kind of black Jewish groups, they were all kind of dragooned as part of the Holy Crusade of as part of the Holy Crusade of, they were all kind of dragooned as part of the Holy Crusade of all of these kind of black Jewish groups, they were all kind of dragooned as part of the Holy Crusade of proving the unified origins of mankind. What a noble thing that turned out to be. And of course, with Darwin, that pretty much marks the end of polygenism, except that even today, the genetic scientists who fiddle around with the proof in such a way that it looks as if there are races and that they're kind of significantly different from each other, but it really is not the case.
So should we go to the question about conflation? What does conflation mean? Were there different kinds of conflation of Jews and blacks over time? Or should we go to the question of looking at your slides?
Well, let me quickly just do it, because the conflation is in the title of my book. And I think just to say what I mean by it would be a good introduction, really, to the slides. And Bonnie sort of mentioned very kindly a chapter in that 2013 book. And there was nothing original about that. There's a great scholar by the name of Sandy Gilman, who really is the father of all studies about the perceptions of the body of the Jews, an extraordinary scholar, and I owe a huge amount to everything that he's written, and my head immensely. And so a long time ago, he wrote that there was a kind of medieval perception that Jews were black. There's plenty of proof that Jews were black. There's plenty of proof of the medieval perception. He wrote that there was a kind of medieval perception that Jews were black. There's plenty of proof. There's plenty of proof Jews were black. There's plenty of proof that within Europe, the Jews were considered to be kind of black. There were many images. The Jews were considered to be kind of black. The Jews were considered to be kind of black. There were many images of Jews being black, of Jews being black, being black. And even if they weren't black, they were not even slightly black. They were kind of considered to be black in one, even slightly black. They were kind of considered to be black in one way or another. So blackness and Jews really went hand in hand, really went hand in hand. So blackness and Jews really went hand in hand. If you read his work, or if you read my work, and particularly if you read this new book, you will see the multitude of examples of it. And if you go, for instance, into the marginalia, the illustrations in English or European prayer books in the 13th and 14th centuries, you frequently see hook-nosed Jews wearing. You frequently see hook-nosed Jews were in prayer books in the 13th and 14th centuries, European prayer books in the 13th and 14th centuries, European prayer books in the 13th and 14th centuries. You frequently see hook-nosed Jews wearing Jewish hats and with black faces. So with black faces. So with black faces. So the idea that Jews were black was definitely there. The idea that Jews were black was definitely there. Before the Enlightenment period. Before the Enlightenment period. Before the Enlightenment period. Definitely there. Frequently see hook-nosed Jews wearing Jewish hats and with black faces. So the idea that Jews were black was definitely there. Before the Enlightenment period. Before the Enlightenment period.
So let's go to the slides now.
Just a sec, because I just need to say, in the 19th century, the idea of Jewish blackness was reinforced by the discovery. The idea of.
So let's go to the slides now.
Just a sec, because I just need to say, in the 19th century, the idea of Jewish blackness was reinforced by the discovery of all of these actual black Jews in Europe and Africa, all over the place. And by 1850, the main racial theorists of the day started saying that yes, actually, Jews are Negroes. 50, the main racial theorists of the day started saying that yes, actually, Jews are Negroes. Negroes, in some way, are also Jews. in some way are also Jews, are Negroes. But yes, actually, Jews are Negroes. Negroes in some way are also Jews. This in some way are also Jews. Negroes in some way are also Jews. This is the conflation. It's partly political, it's partly metaphorical, and it's very, very significantly biological. Here the there, biological. Here the
different. Seems like a political move by Newsom. Not a lot of black people in California. They just make up 6% of the state's population. But this isn't about but not a lot of black people in California. They just make up 6% of the state's population. Be much different. Seems like a political move by Newsom. Not a lot of black people in California. They just make up 6% of the state's population. But this isn't about California. Gavin's trying to win the black vote across the country. When he throws his hat in the ring for 2024 or later, he wants black voters to think reparations are on. The table. He wants black voters to think reparations are on the table nationwide. Democrats want South Carolina to be the first state to vote in the presidential primaries. Over 25% of the population there is black. Gavin's looking ahead. He doesn't care that these reparations would bankrupt the country. He doesn't care that these reparations would bankrupt the country. This is the same guy who brought California from a $100 billion surplus to a $25 billion deficit. This is the same guy that signed off on a $2 million single stall toilet in San Francisco. It takes 4 years to build. This is what Democrats do. They bribe voters before elections and call it relief. It's the main pillar of their party now. COVID stimulus checks, student loan forgiveness, and now reparations. Whatever happens to the economy and race relations, just the price of doing business.